everyone, it's Gianbel Castro, and this is the Women's Sports Matter podcast. And again, because I love to repeat myself, I'm your host, Gianbel Castro, and let's get started. Today is not going to be a video episode because I'm lazy, and I don't really want to record myself for this episode, so it looks like if you're on YouTube, you'll be staring at a picture for however long this will take. But today is going to be a little different because we are not talking about women's sports. So, let's get right into it, I guess. I'm moving the ad read to the middle of the podcast from now on. I'm trying to be a professional, and I received professional advice, please put air quotes around that, to put it in the middle, and I'm gonna listen. So, let's get started with the episode. So I'm 18, just turned 18. I've been 18 for a month now, month and 2 days as I'm recording this, but 18 years of life, and you think you know everything. You think you've seen everything. You think you know everything, and that is something that I struggle with. I will be talking about a family member today. So if you're listening to this and you're part of my wonderful family, I'd just like to say hi. This episode is for my family. I wanted to make an appreciation towards family members because when I found out that my aunt told my mom that I had a podcast, I was really upset because I feel like that I should be able to just keep this stuff to myself, and if I want to share it with a few certain people, then yeah, I'm gonna let that happen. But I was embarrassed. I would like to think of myself as a very humble person. I don't really like the light being cast upon me. I'd rather be back in the shadows. I don't like recognition for a lot of things unless I say that I want recognition. I don't know. I don't like being, I guess, noticed in this case. So when my aunt snitched on me, and put air quotes around that because it's a joke, I was upset. I was like, now my family's gonna have to listen to me talk. I think they've heard enough of me at this point, if I'm being honest. But then my mom snitched on me and told the whole rest of my family. That's embarrassing. First of all, I would just like to say, there's a lot you don't know about me. And that's okay. You can learn a whole bunch about me. Now you know that I like sports more than you thought. You're welcome. You've learned a lot about me in the past 14 episodes, which is stuff that I necessarily don't want to share with family members because I think it's weird. You know, I just don't talk about these kinds of things because I don't want to get into arguments or I don't want to feel left out. And so I feel like this is the perfect place for me to share my thoughts and make it seem like no one is looking at me. And that's why I started making podcast episodes. And then I was kind of like, maybe I should show my face and maybe I should make a YouTube channel, and I did that. I also really don't like showing my face for that either. I'm shy, I'm introverted. If you know me in real life, you know, that's who I am. And if you have no idea who I am at all, but you listen to this podcast, there's so much to me besides sports, and that's why I would like to take some time and actually talk more than just sports, even though there is so much media recognition that needs to happen within women's sports. Just because there's drama happening in the W doesn't mean that ESPN only should talk about that, or the Boston Globe should only talk about that. Why don't you talk about how the season is starting this weekend with one of the biggest games we'll ever see between the Seattle Storm and the New York Liberty, or how the NWSL Challenge Cup winner will have a team that has never lifted a trophy before. Ever. That is important. Let's not talk about that idiot that is an owner of the Atlanta Dream. She is a ridiculous person who should not be owning a team. Period. I don't care what she does. She's just an awful human being. She's definitely someone that would be protesting on the streets, not wearing a mask, saying, "Please open up the bars," or "All lives matter." That is just not okay with me. At all. Or "Blue lives matter." Come on, people. Blue lives is not real. It's a job. I'm already losing my mind. But today we're talking about family. I love my family a lot, even though I don't necessarily show it. I don't like using the word love. I think it's only appropriate, and sometimes I'm very uncomfortable with the word, in fact. I don't know why. It's just something that, is not something I need to say. And it makes me feel weird. We're just going to end it at that. But I love my family. I'm comfortable with saying that. I look up to a lot of my family members. I think my family is pretty great. Excuse me. Pretty great. Got a lot of sports fans, which is amazing. And they're just great people. When I was younger, I really wasn't appreciative of a lot of folks in my family because, again, like I said earlier, I thought I knew better. I thought that I was better. I thought that, I'm first. That is not the case. I've learned a lot recently from watching how my family members behave, especially right now. My family is going through a lot. And just watching them and seeing how they do things, it's making me grow to be a better person. And I've seen how the opposite of my family acts with my father's side of the family. Granted, there's some amazing people on his side of the family. And those amazing people listen to my podcast. So, we know who the good ones are. But watching how two different families are is quite a catastrophe in my mind. And especially for someone that's younger and that doesn't know any better and was like me growing up, it's harder to differentiate who's better. But that doesn't matter. It's not who's better. It's who's more reliable and who's going to be there for you and who's not going to nitpick your every mood, or who's not going to tell you what you're wearing isn't right, or who's going to tell you what you're supposed to do. Families are supposed to be reliable on one another. Like a team. You rely on your captain or your point guard to do the right thing And clearly, there's a side of the family that is better than the other. I've learned a lot in the past year, honestly, from just watching behaviors. When I watch athletes on the field, it's a lot like watching family members, in a sense where you're looking up to them, but also seeing how they react to different situations. Like, if a player's gonna fight someone on the field, you can just tell. Like, once that pitcher hits you, you know it's going down. That was a joke. No one should ever try and be violent, because you accidentally got hit from a pitcher. You shouldn't be mad. Just go on with it. You probably deserved it, honestly. Or maybe it was an honest mistake. Watching how people are helps shape you. You need to grow up at one point. That's the truth. And the people that are closest to you are the people that influence you. If you don't have good influences around you, you're not going to make smart decisions. That is somehow in my case. Again, let's talk about family, but let's talk about school and friendships. I had a hard time making friends, and that's why I played sports in high school, so I could make friends, because I was the only person from my grade school to go to the high school that I went to, and I still had trouble making friends even though I was on the team. Luckily, 4 years later, I have some really, really good friends from the basketball and soccer teams that I was on as a freshman and a sophomore. But also at the same time, while I was there, I'm not going to say I was in a bad crowd, because I didn't do anything illegal like a lot of high schoolers do. But I put myself in a situation where I thought I was right, and I thought that I was better, when it turns out I was wrong. And you know what? That is how you learn. A lot of my family members are really smart and really brave, and watching them, again, has shaped me in who I am today. I think it's important to embrace who you are and who you're with, and if you never do that, you're never going to learn. It's important to realize that you are, in fact, sometimes wrong. It's the truth. I've had coaches who are stuck up and who thought they were right all the time. Guess what, coach? We didn't win a damn game that season. Mr. Volleyball coach in 6th grade, we didn't win a game at all. It's important to realize that you are sometimes wrong. I guess we can connect this back to the Atlanta Dream co-owner. Whatever that senator's name. I don't want to name her because I don't know how to say her name. She is inherently wrong, and the WNBA family wants her out, because after watching her, they have realized that she is not suitable to be in this kind of environment where she thinks all lives matter, and where she thinks that Black lives don't matter. Well, I think we've gotten to the point where I'm realizing that I'm rambling, so I'm going to take a break, and we're going to have an ad read. And next, we're going to talk about a specific family member, so stick around, I guess, and I'm going to play an ad. It's going to sound really, really great, really amazing, truly spontaneous, whatever. It's an ad read. Just listen. So let's hear about today's sponsor. Wasn't that ad read just marvelous? Welcome back again, Women's Sports Matter podcast. Today we're talking about family. Thank you for listening to the first half of the podcast. I realized I was rambling, and I realized that I didn't know what I wanted to say. And I just want to say, to sum all that stuff up, that people grow, and when people grow, they prosper. And when they prosper, they teach others to grow and to prosper. So I'm thankful for my family members for being good examples for me and younger folks that are in the family. The last part of this episode is a voice message for my grandfather. So we're halfway through the episode. So time to get emotional, am I right? My grandfather's in the hospital. We have no idea why. Absolutely no idea. And that's heartbreaking, honestly. Really. I think when you realize that, this person could be taken at any moment, it really breaks your heart. But it hasn't happened, and I'm really thankful. I don't pray. I don't believe in a God. I am not a fan of religion, and I am certainly not a fan of the Catholic Church, because they can't own up to anything. But I'm hopeful that he'll have a very, very smooth recovery. It'll be a very long recovery for him. But I don't know how long it'll be. No one knows. But everything is going just fine right now. And I could not be happier. He's had a lot of rocky days. Soon it's gonna be a month that he's been in the hospital, which is weird. It's felt like a year. But the rest of this episode, for I don't know how long, we're gonna be talking about a family member that has helped me like sports. Growing up, I was the little athlete in the family. It was just me, my mother, my father, and my sister. This is me growing up, by the way. I was a little athlete. I did everything because I wanted to. I tried everything. I did not like a lot of things. But one person that was always there to go to a lot of my games was my mother and my grandfather. My dad was always working. My mom found time to go to my games. And so did my grandfather. When I was little, also, my family is, we're huge Chicago fans, except for the Cubs. I personally am not a football fan, and by football, I mean American football, but if I have to root for the Bears, whatever, better than rooting for the Packers, am I right? And looks like all the Wisconsin listeners just left. Well, sorry, Cheeseheads. I don't know what to tell you. I can't really, I don't know what to say. I don't like football, so leave me alone. Whatever. But my grandfather is one of the biggest White Sox fans that I know. So growing up, we used to go to a ton of games. I have so many photos of me in my little pink White Sox hat and White Sox shirt. Going to games was really fun. Going with family was really fun too, because, family bonding time and, watching your favorite team lose. Remember the 2005 World Series when the White Sox beat the Houston Astros? What a time. That was a time when the Astros were not cheaters and took 2 World Series away from 2 teams. Or no, that was the Astros coach. The Red Sox and Astros took away 2 World Series from the Los Angeles Dodgers, and you cannot convince me otherwise. But that's not what we're talking about here. My grandfather used to play catch with me. He used to play baseball, like in the backyard. When he had a backyard. He would go to all my games. He would buy us food, because food is way more important. Food is amazing. I love food so much. I just want to put that out there. And yeah, sometimes he would pick us up. By us, I mean my sister, and me. We would just hang out whenever. He even flew kites with us, or made caterpillars out of the egg cartons from the store, which I think I might have still, or he might have. Used to paint eggs with him. Pretty cool. But I'll always remember how big of a White Sox fan he is, and this is why I'm a White Sox fan. My grandfather knows best, okay? The Cubs are absolutely ridiculous, and you cannot convince me otherwise. I also got my grandfather into soccer somehow. I think. Oh, I also got my grandfather into being a Chicago Sky fan. We went to the game. My mother, my grandfather, and myself went to the Chicago Sky Las Vegas Aces game. Last year in August. It was the day before the first day of school for me. I remember that clearly. The Aces won, unfortunately, but it was still a really wonderful game to watch. And that was the game when all the beef happened at the end of it. That night. Liz Cambage was fighting everyone on the court. But when we got there, we were sitting next to these 2 women on the older side, I think, maybe older than my grandfather, I don't know, maybe the same age as him. But he was chatting with them the whole time, and he was getting really invested, and I was like, oh my god, this is what women's basketball needs. They need him to cheer for them. He literally was so happy that he won, and he said he wanted to go to another game. I'm like, great, you should buy season tickets then so we can go. Because I don't have the chance to go and watch women's sports a lot. It's barely televised. It's a disgrace that people don't cover women's sports. But of course, coverage only matters when there's drama involved. Beautiful. But I got my grandfather into the Chicago Sky. And that is one of my proudest moments in my 18 years of living. Honestly, next I'm going to get them into the Red Stars because women's soccer. They're also playing tonight against Sky Blue FC. By the time this episode is out, we'll know who the winner is, but I hope it's a Houston Dash Chicago Red Stars final. But, if it's Sky Blue FC, I may lose my mind, but I really hope Chicago can pull through and win this whole thing after only scoring 1 goal in the first round. Or no, 2 goals in the first round, I believe. And then winning PKs against, Reign. Anyway. My grandfather was honored at a White Sox game years ago. I don't know how long ago it was. But it was so cool to see that he was like the veteran of the game or whatever. I don't know what it's called, okay? Just to stand there and to be like, whoa, he's on the field, he's talking to one of the base coaches? Like, what? Like, I'm amazed. It was just such a cool experience to see someone in your family being recognized by your favorite baseball team and the best team in the city of Chicago. Honestly, this man deserves more recognition. And I wish I could give it to him, but I frankly don't know him well enough to do so. But he has been a big influence in my life. He is someone that I've watched throughout my 18 years of living. And here's what I can tell you about him. He's courageous. He's smart. He's funny. He does not sing well, nor tell some jokes very well. But he always has a positive attitude, and he's always someone that you would want to talk to. And speaking of talking, he talks to everyone. So if anyone ever has the pleasure of meeting my grandfather in the near future, I would just like to say watch out, because he'll talk to you for a very long time. He'll go up to anyone and start a conversation. He's that type of guy. Honestly, I have no more words. But to sum it up, what a guy, as I like to say. What a guy. Yeah. Family. Even though this episode wasn't about sports, I still found a way to talk about sports, because this is me we're talking about. I gotta talk about sports all the time. Whatever. The last thing I want to talk about as I'm ending my episode is the fact that I am starting to reconsider doing episodes twice a week, and here's why. I am lazy. I don't come up with ideas fast enough, and maybe I'll just start making content exclusive to either a podcast application or YouTube. So, I don't know. But I'm going to end this episode here. Big thank you to all the people that listen to this podcast, no matter where you come from, no matter what background you have. Thank you for taking time to listen to me ramble about sports and to talk about things that I think matter right now. So, again, like I did in previous episodes, it is disgusting that the cops that killed Breonna Taylor are still free and not arrested and charged for her murder. Like I did before, I'm going to link down below a Black Lives Matter card, which has a lot of resources for you to sign petitions, donate, all the good stuff to help and get rid of police brutality, which is a thing. And I'm going to stand by what I say when I say ACAB. Honestly. Honest to God, 100% ACAB. And if you don't agree with me, I am so sorry. But we're going to agree to disagree. Also, with COVID going around still, just wear a mask, wash your hands, social distance when you can, please. If we all wear a mask for the next 6 weeks, we can lower cases in the United States. And everyone wants to go out and do all these things, which is understandable, but in order for that to happen, we actually need to do something about this virus, unless you want a lot of people to die just so we can have herd immunization. And if you don't know what herd immunization is, it's when a lot of people die from a virus and then it automatically goes away. So if that's what the president wants to do, whatever. Can't wait to see his sorry ass leave office this year. Even though Joe Biden is such a sucky candidate to have, running for the Democrats, it's better than Trump. And we are voting for the replacement of Ruth Bader Ginsburg as well, who is recovering from another cancerous cell in her body. Politics at the end of every episode. I gotta find a way to vent. Ooh. Also, if you are not registered to vote, if you are a United States citizen, that it is your duty to go out and vote. We all have the right to vote, unless you're a felon. Sorry. But if you aren't registered to vote, guess what? It'll be linked down below. You guessed it. Voting registration for your state. And if you're listening in another country, I'm sorry. But if you're an American listening in another country, and you still have American citizenship, there's also going to be stuff down below to help you out. Okay? I don't really have anything to promote except for subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is the name of the podcast, Women's Sports Matter. We are 5 subscribers strong. Keep subscribing so I can maybe post extra content on there, because I'm such a skilled person. I can do so many different things with this podcast. Also, if you want to help me out financially, you can subscribe to my Patreon, which is also linked down below, and you can help me out also through Anchor if you go to my public site. Also, when you reach my public site, there's a thing called voice messages, and through there you can send me suggestions, who should I have next on my pod, stuff like that. And also, speaking of suggestions, here's one. Follow me on Twitter at WSM Podcast. I post kind of sometimes. I am not the best with the Twitterverse, but I post when there's an episode. So there you go. I post polls. I talk about Chicago sports, NWSL stuff, WNBA, Use the hashtag WSM Podcast to recommend who I should have on the pod, topics, suggestions, and more. All the good stuff. Gotta get the promoting out of the way. Support women's sports. The first game for the WNBA season is July 25th, I believe, and it's the Seattle Storm against New York Liberty. And that'll be exciting as Sue Bird and Breanna Stewart take on Sabrina Ionescu and the New York Liberty. That's all I gotta say for this pod, I'm done rambling. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore at this point. Gotta put a pod out, even though I don't make much for it. Talking about sports is my passion, clearly. And I can't wait to make more episodes in the future. This is episode number 15, which is weird because I haven't been doing this for that long. So yeah. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Women's Sports Matter podcast. Again, I'm your host, Gianna Belcastro. Shout out to my family members who listen. Shout out to strangers that listen. Shout out to friends that listen. Thank you so much for your support. Wear a mask, wash your hands, social distance, end police brutality, and that's all, folks.